Welcome to Take a Look. You're taking a look at Kevin Costner's epic Horizon. Sure, it's not dominating summer movies, but it deserves to be seen on a big screen. Costner himself, our guest to tell you exactly why. Also, if you're staying at home with your own air conditioner, you're gonna lose your head over the new series, Lady Jane. The most rock and roll look at the 9-day queen ever. Also, speaking of dominating summer movies, Despicable Me 4 has been doing exactly that for the last week. Minions proving size doesn't matter. Steve Carell grew himself, our guest as we take a look. Yes, we are going to take a look. Hey, welcome to Take a Look, where we talk about movies, and welcome to the back half of the summer, which, by the way, the first half of the year, as you know, movies not doing so well. Well, with Minions, like we just talked about, the box office is back to pre-pandemic levels. So that's the upside. We got to talk about the downside for a second. Before that, my friend, you're not the downside.
The downside.
My friend Kelly Savannah Deaton, travel blogger. How you doing?
Good. You should be bowing down. Good
I am.
save, though. Good save.
You're
Hi,
the
guys.
upside of this show, trust me. But back to the movies. Horizon came out a couple weeks ago. Didn't do as well as it should have. And you might be saying, why are you talking about Horizon? Are you wondering why we're talking about Horizon?
I am kind of wondering. But it's an epic movie. Like, everyone should go see this. And the dismal part about it is he actually leveraged his own mortgage.
Talking about Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner, $38 million to put his own money into this film. And now it's performing like this. I just hate to see when this happens because he's the general authority of Westerns. Everyone knows this.
If he put his own money on this and lost it and it wasn't a good movie, I wouldn't be talking about it. But because he did, and it's a great movie,
It is.
you need to see. I sat down with him and I talked about it and also hijacked part of the interview to talk about my other favorite movie. Take a look.
Oh, jeez.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Congrats on this.
Thanks.
I know it's an epic film when I'm exhausted the next day having seen it. I feel like I lived through this. It's an event.
Yeah, well, it's a journey, and it's the more authentic you can make it, the real you realize how hard it really was. People making their way out there unequipped to even know what they were going to run into, and the simplest things they had to provide for themselves, and most didn't even know how to do that. It was a struggle out there.
A story of grit and perseverance for every single story within the story being told, and the same could be said about this movie.
Right.
If not for you and wanting to do it and knowing that you had to do it, it wouldn't get made.
No, you don't see this, and and if you watch the second one, it gets harder for these people, and the third one gets harder. But you get to know them, and you start to, immerse yourself in this world, and you begin to love certain characters. You begin to maybe hate some, but it's life.
You know, it's funny, all of your actors that I've talked to that are so excited to be a part of your passion project, and it's become their passion as well, talk about how it trickles down. Your kindness, your creativity, your drive trickles down to all of them. You made this in 52 days. Dances was like 3 times that amount.
Yeah, it was 106.
You ask a lot of every department.
They did, and the women are driving force. It's only when it ended up going from 1 script to becoming 4. It was stunning that, even to me, that women dominated. They became every storyline, and these women, these are acting roles. These aren't like just women in the West. These are performances of their life.
Brilliant stories, well told, and you haven't seen these stories in Westerns before.
You haven't, I don't think. There's versions of them, but that's the obligation that I have to bring when you sit in the dark, that you're going to see something that feels highly original. That's my job. That's my passion, to surprise you, to thrill you, to hurt you, to kind of wear you out, to kind of thrill you, to break your heart.
I keep getting distracted. I'm looking over your shoulder at this great valley shot. And I talk to Quentin Tarantino about you all the time. He and I share something. We saw Fandango in a movie theater no less than 5 times. And it was only in theaters for about a week.
Yeah.
So that was 40 years ago this summer. You were making that movie. What remains the same in you? Because there's a shot of you looking over that valley.
Well, listen, because guys like Tarantino, they grew up loving movies. So they love to present a movie in the dark to people. They understand what it was like to sit there, and they want to be in the hands of a careful storyteller. When I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it was brilliant, and it was so careful. And I want my offering to not be dismissed. I want it to stand. I want it to surprise.
And what will be?
And what will be?
Here's to us, Bud God!
Here's to you, Bud God.
Thank you.
Good to see you, sir. Thanks for your time.
There you go. How cool was that to see a 20-something Kevin Costner in his first movie with, again, Great America vistas behind him? Not to be confused, that was Fandango, his first movie, not Horizon,
Okay,
this new
enough
movie.
about Fandango. This would have went so much better had you kept it on target on this current film. You always hijack these Kevin Costner movies.
Wait, are you saying that maybe Horizon would perform better had I stuck to the topic
That's
and
what
promoted
I'm saying. It's all your fault.
All right, maybe so. Anyway, I talked to Ella, I talked to Isabel, and I talked to Luke Wilson about pretty much the ladies of this movie that make it its strongest. Take a look. You guys, I'm exhausted. Having seen this movie, I felt like I've lived it. I feel dirty, sweaty, and exhausted from the efforts that you all put in. So how was it on the days?
I've been saying it's kind of the set you dream of when you're a 6-year-old imagining what a set might be like. Like Kevin Costner is riding up to you on a horse to give you direction. And you're in a corset and you're like out in the dirt and a sandstorm's coming through and you're manning a wagon. It was wild and it was primal and animal and delicious.
It was dusty being out there for sure, but those kinds of things added, like you said, a primal element to our performances that you can't fake when you're on a set or a sound stage. And we were really out there. And it felt like it.
Like I said, watching it, it feels like you're there. And I was about to say to you, you know the Wild West. You grew up in Texas, but Dallas, the area you were there, looked more like Santa Monica. So,
and I'm always thankful that Kevin hired me before I had to kind of say, no, I'm great on horseback. Yeah, I mean, I grew up. People will hear like, oh, Texas, you must be like lived on a ranch, but they don't know it's like like living over here in North Hollywood.
Right. Everybody tries to insert themselves into stories, and I think your guy is the guy that I would want to be. Trying his best to hold things together during all of this.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin was really clear at the beginning. He said, I don't want this to be a white hat and a black hat Western where there are these clear delineations between this guy's good, this guy's bad, to where my character, Van Weyden, he's the captain of this wagon train, and he was elected. He didn't even necessarily want the job, but as I say in the movie, he's trying to get as many of us as I can, as far as I can.
And I buried the lead, because as much as it's genre-defying in that it's not white hat, black hat, it is lady power, and we don't see this in Westerns, and you two are at the forefront of that. What kind of pride does that bring you?
It was really exciting to me to read a Western with such distinctive female characters. I think that Kevin is sort of an archivist in this way, of that he's been collecting these unsung stories, and so many of the unsung stories of this time period are women's. It's special to be a part of cinematic history and recovering that history.
And when we were reading these diaries of women on the Oregon Trail as we were preparing to start filming, you realize that so much of what women went through at that time is still universal today. Kevin has done such a beautiful job, casting such incredible actresses, and then also really giving everyone their moment to shine in each of these films. It's really a sight to behold, and it is this story that lives on. I mean, this is just the beginning. We've just started.
And he also made a point to take all of the women from the films to Cannes to shine a light on women in Westerns, which was just so unbelievably generous and wonderful of him, but also feels like apt. Like, I'm so glad that we get to celebrate Sienna's performance and Abby's performance, because they're worthy of that.
Yeah.
Amen, all of you. If that guy wasn't kicking me out of the room right now, I would give you a standing ovation for 11 minutes.
Great suit.
Cheers, good to see you. Thanks for your time. Yeah, you know how it works. They literally shove you out of the room.
Yes.
And I did want to give them a standing ovation. They got over 10 minutes standing ovation at the most prestigious film festival in the world, Cannes.
And that's amazing. And something to piggyback off of what you said in the interview is that I love about Kevin Costner is he will put all the shine on everyone else that makes the film when he's the leader. But the women power in this, they literally prop up the film, and I love to see that. You don't normally see that in Westerns. It's all men, cowboy hats, horses, but these women hold their own. And it's
true.
Epic.
And I'm told that, this is
Powerful.
a two-parter, right? So part two, I hear that the stories get even more so that way, so I can't wait. I thought Luke Wilson was an interesting choice.
Yes, I thought that too, but my main concern is, can he say, wow, like Owen Wilson?
Okay, I've got an impression. Here's my impression of Owen Wilson had he been in this movie.
Okay.
Owen Wilson and a wagon wheel
Send
falls
it.
on his leg. Ow.
That's all I got. All right, hey, coming up next, we're going to stick to Horizon because it deserves it. If you haven't seen this in a big theater, you should. As the temperatures soar across America, get out of them and go see this movie. It's 3.5 hours of a break, and we'll tell you why otherwise you should see it next. Hey, welcome back to Take a Look, talking about movies on the big screen and the small screens. That's Kelly Savannah Deaton. I'm Mark S. Allen. Let's go back to our talk about Horizon.
Yes.
So I'm going to mention 2 names, and you fill in the blanks.
Okay.
Sam Worthington, Sienna Miller.
Okay, Sam Worthington, we know from obviously the little tiny indie film called
Avatar.
And then Sienna Miller, she's one of my favorite actresses.
Like
and
what?
We know her from Layer Cake
And?
with Daniel Craig, Alfie in 2004 with Jude Law, Bradley Cooper in American Sniper, and I think she's one of the most underrated actresses out there because her versatility is unmatched.
My goodness.
And she's stunningly beautiful, which helps.
She is stunning. In fact, Sam mentions that in this interview. In a little way, he pays tribute to that. There is a scene that takes place moments after what you're looking at right now that is worthy of an Academy Award. I sat down with the 2 of them to talk about it. Take a look.
Good to see you two.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Awesome work in this.
Thanks, Mark.
Like I've just come off of it. I'm exhausted having watched this movie. It's more of an event, more of an experience than a movie for each of you. Pile on that.
Yeah, I think, look, it is an epic. It is sweeping and it is romantic, and it's about, it's an allegory for the formation of America. So I think, who better to do that than Kevin Costner?
And also genre-defying, and also lifts the female power and the female spirit in this. And you're at the forefront of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's so lovely to see a Western or a film set in that period that actually explores the role of women who are integral to the settlement of America and the building of it. It's just something that hasn't really been examined in Westerns that I've seen, and so it was really refreshing.
This movie was shot in roughly 52 days. Dances with Wolves was 3 times that, which means each of you were probably giving it your all, relentlessly, to get it done, to make day. Did you feel that made for a better performance?
Oh no, it's fast, man. It was a fast project. We always say it felt like an indie, except that it's massive in scope. And you need someone who's at the helm who understands the genre, number one, but also the story of Americana. And a lot of Kevin's movies to do not only the Wild West, he deals with the American baseball. He's done movies about JFK. He's done movies about helping the Kennedys. Anything to do with American culture. That's how I grew up watching those kind of stories, and this is the ultimate kind of American culture story.
20, 30 movies from now, when you remember one day, a day on the set that will live with you forever, what's that day?
Probably the tunnel work for me. I remember reading the script and finding it so moving, and so she was so resourceful in that moment to break the barrel of the gun and save her child and her life. I love that scene. That will be something I remember.
Again, to your performance, I'm hyperventilating while I'm watching that scene. How about you? The day.
20, 30 years later, when I'm old and wrinkled, I'll remember one time when Sienna Miller kissed me.
Not a bad day.
I love that. I love how candid he is.
Honestly, speaking of being candid, that would be the best day of my life as well.
Exactly what he said?
Exactly what he said.
Look at you, segue helper. Hey, so Horizon, to recap what we've been talking about, you need to see it on the biggest screen possible. And in less than 3 months, part 2 drops. Another 3 hours.
Yep.
Exactly. All right, back to what she was saying, coming up in a moment. The Wild Wild West and LGBT community comes together in a great way. Why you need to see National Anthem, why this movie makes the world a better place, you'll know next. Hey, welcome back. It is Take a Look, talking about movies on the big screen and small screen. The next movie you can see both ways. The first part of the show, we talked about Horizon, an epic big Western set back in the day. Now we have a contemporary Western of a different variety. It's not off that the LGBTQ community combines with Western action, but I've been telling for the last 20 years, my friends, to see Brokeback Mountain, that it is one of the most beautiful love stories you're ever going to see. And I say now again, the Western, Great West, rodeo action, meets cowboys, meets the LGBT community.
And like you said, it's a very modern take on it, and you can't forget it's the main character, played by Charlie Plummer,
Right.
named Dylan. It's his very much so journey to achieve the American dream with a bunch of different characters that kind of help lift him up, and he creates this little pack of people that he starts to vibe and live with. So
And, you know,
that's kind of cool to watch.
I'm a filmmaker, and they always say, make what you know, so I always write towards or lean into subjects and things that I know about, or I love the horror genre. In this case, the writer, producer, director lived much of what you see in this, and I sat down with your two stars to talk about it.
I'm a sucker for coming-of-age movies, and coming-of-age movies, the ones that I love, are like some of them steer more towards sexual coming-of-age, some of them more spiritual coming-of-age, some of them more emotional coming-of-age. This one seems to have it all together. I'll have each of you speak to what you see in that.
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's that and even more, I think there's a clear theme of family in it. Not only, of course, your biological family, but your chosen family and the growth with that. And I think it's a huge part of coming of age. And that was a part of the script and Luke's story personally that I was so moved by and really felt, made this coming of age story a bit different than most maybe. But yeah, no, I mean, so many things we could probably spend an hour on each. So we won't do that, but I'll let you.
Yeah, I think, I think it exactly like Charlie said, it was all three for this person, and it was so fun to get to watch him play that.
Love that shot. One of my favorite shots of this movie. The movie is great. You need to see
is.
it. And
It's
my
so
friends in the
heartwarming.
LGBT community say, don't make a big deal about gay rodeo because that's not a new thing. It's been
No.
around for a long time.
It's just more accepted nowadays, which it should have been accepted well before now. But
Hey.
that's why we can celebrate, watch this movie, celebrate, and remember it's also about the American dream and achieving that too. So they do a great job at meshing the two.
National anthem. Be sure and check it
Yeah.
out, screens of any size. All right, coming up next, let's talk about going way even further back in the day to the 1500s. My Lady Jane is awesome.
It is awesome. I was going to say back in the 1500s when you just were born.
All right, we got to go to commercial. We'll be right back. Come on back in and welcome back to the final moments of Take a Look. We've been talking about a lot of movies to see on the big screen right now. Hulu, thank you very much for coming to the small screen. Upon you as we speak is the series My Lady Jane.
Yes, and you will get a lot from this. It's kind of a dark comedy. You'll laugh, you might cry. It's definitely one to not miss.
It's about the queen from the 1500s who served for 9 days before getting her head cut off. Unlike that, this flips it upside down, and she's doing a lot of the cutting, Buffy the Vampire Slayer style. I talked to the stars about it.
To my friends that always say, oh, I don't like period pieces, I go, yeah, but what about Knight's Tale? And they go, well, we love that. They are going to so love this.
That is exactly the reference. A Knight's Tale is one of my favorite movies, and I do think, it is really quite similar with the music, the rock and roll, this sort of like heart in it with all this brilliant sort of comedy. Yeah, that's a really good
I love
reference.
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
It's a little bit Robin Hood Men in
I
Tights.
love
too.
that film.
Two, if the sensibility and the notes the two were ringing out were joined together, this is that.
Yeah, with a little bit of Buffy the Vampire Slayer thrown in.
There's so many references, aren't there?
Because I think, our showrunners are such, movie, TV buffs that there's
Culture buffs.
Culture buffs. I mean, you'll see it in the show. There's many a reference to an 80s film. It's kind of fun. They're like little Easter eggs.
Everybody was committed in this. It's based on a YA novel, and I think that's why it's got such youthful punch, which is ironic for a century-old tale. But love My Lady Jane. Favorite part?
I like all the Easter eggs, like Princess Bride.
Oh, yeah.
And I like how, like you said, they modernize it. So it has a very serious historical aspect, but then they kind of pull all the punches and do the modernization, make it fun, and make even people like you and you and you and you to watch it.
Yeah, the music
What's your
has a lot. The music, I was just going to say the score. The music, much like Knight's Tale, moves this along. So check it out. Now playing, the entire series has dropped. Moving along, back to the big screen, and what conquered the holiday holiday weekend. For over 10 days now, this movie has been #1, over $150 million worldwide. The Minions has placed the summer box office back where it's supposed to be. Movie theaters say thank you. I say thank you.
I say thank you.
And I asked Steve Carell when he knew he had a hit. Take a listen.
One of the first clips that I saw of this film was a scene where Gru and Lucy are talking to each other, and baby Gru is there and responding so beautifully to Lucy and could not be less interested and is antagonistic of Gru. And it's, again, it's such a beautiful animation because the timing of it is kind of impeccable. It's hard to time things comedically so well as in real life, let alone do it in a film. And the writers, editors, animators did such a perfect job. Yes, Gru Jr. is a chip off the old block, but boy, he does not like the old block to start with.
We aren't supposed to lie.
Don't think of it as lying. Think of it as high stakes pretending.
High stakes pretending. That's the kind of writing I'm talking about. Thank you, Steve Carell. Thank you, Kristen Wiig. Sofia Vergara. The entire cast is amazing, but you already know that. You've already seen it. Go see it again. Get out of that heat this summer. All right, coming up next, the last big movie of the summer. With the exception of maybe Deadpool. But Twisters.
Yes.
We're going to go behind the scenes with the entire cast and crew. Kelly Savannah Deaton, where do we find you?
At Kelly Savannah Deaton.
Instagram. Find me on Instagram at TV Marcus Allen, or probably serving a Slurpee at a 7-Eleven near you. See you next week.